And so language matters, what we're saying to ourselves makes a difference. And
you're sort of saying like the importance of reframing, right? Catching yourself. If you notice that you're being harsh on yourself, like, oh gosh, I should have done this differently. That's really a setup for a reframe to be like, wow, I'm curious how this is going to reveal itself later as the better way for this to unfold. Because right now it looks really illogical to have had this loss. How am I supposed to explain that to myself if as the way it should have happened, or a reframe on that? But the reality is that a lot of times out into the future, when the situation is resolved, it is at a better time. So like that's one of many possibilities that happens. And I think the idea of being overwhelmed in the present moment is with all of the different possibilities and the things and the paths to take and the options.
Reframing, certainly. And we can also develop skills in being compassionate with ourselves along the way. Even when something doesn't obviously need to be reframed, we can become more skilled at talking kindly to ourselves, offering ourselves understanding and grace as we go through day-to-day life and are faced with inevitable failures and challenges and feelings of inadequacy. And so using all of that together, reframing when we need to, challenging those unhelpful thoughts, and also fostering that warm relationship with ourselves.
Challenging the negative thoughts, that is very powerful. And I think I do that a lot during the day. If there's a quick assumption or something, then I check in with myself and say, really? Is that really what you believe? And I know that was true on my path to pregnancy. I was crying. I was so upset. And I had been working on my fertility for 5 years. And then I'd get another diagnosis. Oh, great. My fallopian tube is blocked on the right. Or another breakup would happen. And I would just be thinking, it's never going to happen for me. And my former colleague said, is that what you really believe? Challenging that negative thought. And I was like, actually, no, I don't really believe that it's not going to happen for me. I just don't have the details of when and how and with who. Right? Isn't that a empowering reframe to challenge that?
Yes.
It's such a great idea.
Our minds are so tricky because, we have thoughts constantly all day long, and we're often inclined to believe that all of those thoughts are true. And
oh no.
And they're just not. Some of them are certainly true or half true, but some of them aren't at all, know? And so mindfulness helps with that, because if we're going to reframe a thought or challenge it, we have to first be aware that we're having that thought. And sometimes we become so swept away in our thoughts that it can be hard to kind of pin them down. And if we can't pin them down or identify them, then we don't really know what we're working with or how we're trying to change them or accept them.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm thinking of how heady or analytical a lot of us are, right? And if we normally think 50,000 thoughts per day, or there's 50,000 plus thoughts that are processed each day, the more analytical that we are and the more up in our head we are, if we can master this idea of reframing or mindfulness, then we can bombard our field or around us, our energy field, 50,000 times per day with, it is going to happen for me. I can trust life to work out in a way that's going to make me happy. I can reframe this. There are many things I can do. Everything is okay right now. Those kinds of thoughts that are very calming, and to repeatedly send them inward I think, and it's true for me, I've watched it with my patients, that is the beginning of a redirect. Right now, we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
neuroplasticity, where
Mm-hmm.
that groove in the brain that's gone
Mm-hmm.
to, woe is me, it's not fair, I'm a victim of my fertility, but one rogue neuron that jumps over that says, wait a minute, I'm challenging that belief.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, maybe it can work, or maybe there's something I haven't thought of yet, or there's something I haven't tried, or something I need to be open to, or I allow a shift to occur, right?
It's hope.
Oh, to start hope.
Yeah, well, how you're describing this, I mean, it feels hopeful, right? And that's what you're describing. That's a power from within that you're giving yourself by being intentional about how you are thinking, how you're talking to yourself, how you're evaluating things around you, how you're perceiving things. And these are also skills, adaptive perspective taking, challenging and working through beliefs that are no longer helpful or serving us. And it's a practice,
And I think it starts with some kind of visual, right? Or somebody says something and you think like, oh, wait a second. This idea of that rogue thought form jumping into this other direction to start creating a different groove that we could even imagine routes over into a more fertile version of myself, right? Visuals are powerful tools.
I think so. Visualization is certainly a wonderful tool to have in your toolbox. I think, whether visualizing peaceful scenes or the rogue neuron or whatever it is, the face of someone you love when you're stressed. I think that there's a wide range of how that could be used, and I do like visualization personally. I'm a visual learner, so I like to, like we've talked about the fertile garden.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I love that image.
And the image of pulling emotional weeds, things that haven't been processed, things that are scary, things that are literally tripping us up, doing reconciliation, amends work, that kind of thing, and then putting in more nutrients, more love, better conditions.
Yeah. Planting seeds for growth and for change, and the, what you want to see in your life blossom.
Yeah. Well, because you work here at Well People, you're obviously familiar with the seed fertility program.
Yes.
And, I have it kind of broken into two big concepts: fertile thoughts and fertile foods, and how both of those are used around the 28-day cycle to kind of mimic a normal hormone dance, right? So in that week where the period has happened and the estrogen is low, there's crying and a good opportunity for cleansing and releasing.